Module 1, Introduction to Activism, Civil Disobedience, and Social Movement. 1. Module Overview. Activism is the intentional, organized effort to bring about social, political, economic, or cultural change. It involves individuals, groups, or organizations that seek to influence institutions, policies, laws, cultural values, or collective behavior. Activism exists on a spectrum, ranging from peaceful advocacy, lobbying, petitions, and educational campaigns, to more disruptive tactics such as boycotts, strikes, protests, or direct action. Key characteristics of activism. Purposeful. It always has a clear goal, such as reforming a law, protecting rights, or challenging systemic oppression. Collective in nature. Even when initiated by individuals, activism usually grows into group efforts. Moral, ethical dimension. Activists often believe they are working for justice, fairness, or the greater good. Persistent. Successful activism requires sustained effort, not just isolated actions. 2. Defining civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is a form of protest where individuals deliberately and non-violently violate laws, rules, or regulations they consider unjust, with the intention of drawing attention to the injustice and prompting reform. Core principles of civil disobedience. Nonviolence. Inspired by Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., civil disobedience emphasizes peaceful resistance, conscious lawbreaking. The act is intentional, not accidental. It is carried out with awareness of potential legal consequences. Moral justification. The disobedience stems from higher moral principles, justice, human rights, or divine law, over unjust man-made laws. Publicity. Civil disobedience is usually visible and public, meant to awaken societal conscience. Acceptance of punishment. Protesters often accept legal consequences to demonstrate the injustice of the law itself. Examples of civil disobedience in history. 3. Defining social movements. Social movements are organized, large-scale, collective efforts aimed at bringing about or resisting social, cultural, economic, or political change. Unlike isolated protests, movements sustain over time and often create broad shifts in consciousness, institutions, and power structures. Types of social movements. Sociological classifications. Reform movements aim to improve laws and policies without overthrowing institutions, for example, civil rights movement. Revolutionary movements seek to completely replace existing systems, for example, Russian Revolution, Arab Spring. Resistance movements aim to resist change imposed by others, for example, anti-globalization protests. New social movements focus on identity, environment, feminism, LGBTQ+ rights, indigenous rights, climate justice. Religious/spiritual movements aim for moral renewal, often tied to political and cultural struggles. Stages of social movements. Bloomer's model. Emergence, recognition of grievances, informal discussion. Coalescence, organizing, protests, building leadership. Bureaucratization, formal organizations and structured leadership. Decline, transformation, could fade, be repressed, succeed, or merge into institutional politics. 4. Theoretical frameworks for studying activism and movements. Resource mobilization theory. Movements succeed when they can mobilize resources, money, media, networks, leaders. Political opportunity structure. Movements emerge when political systems are vulnerable or open to influence. Framing theory. Success depends on how movements frame their issues. Justice versus crime, rights versus privileges. Identity politics. Movements arise around shared identity, race, gender, class, religion. Social network theory. Information and mobilization spread through networks. 5. Philosophical and moral foundations. Henry David Thoreau, 1849. His essay Civil Disobedience argued individuals should not permit governments to make them agents of injustice. Mahatma Gandhi developed Satyagraha, truth force, as a spiritual and political form of nonviolent resistance. Martin Luther King Jr. advocated nonviolent civil disobedience as a tool for justice rooted in Christian ethics and natural law. Hannah Arendt saw civil disobedience as essential to democratic renewal. John Rawls framed civil disobedience as a public nonviolent act that appeals to society's shared sense of justice. 6. Contemporary relevance in the 21st century. Activism, civil disobedience, and social movements have taken new forms. Digital activism, #activism, #Black Lives Matter, #EndSARS, #MeToo. Climate activism, Extinction Rebellion, Fridays for Future, Greta Thunberg, pro-democracy movements, Hong Kong Umbrella Movement, Arab Spring uprisings, indigenous rights, Standing Rock protests against pipelines. Technology has made movements more global, instantaneous, and networked, but also vulnerable to surveillance, misinformation, and co-optation.